The Ainu and the Ryukyuans are two groups of indigenous peoples within Japan. The Ainu are often associated with the northern island of Hokkaido, but who are the Ainu that have historically lived there?
I haven't really thought about it, I'm sorry.
I haven't really met them in person, so there are things we just don't know.
They are not really known, but I think they are an ethnic group who really preserved their traditions. So I think their rights and so on should be protected.
The Ainu are a people struggling to retain their cultural identity in a society that often champions conformity. Many of the Ainu I've seen interviewed confess to hiding their heritage for most of their lives. Some said they don't want to be bullied or made fun of. Others said they don't want to marry another Ainu person because they didn't want their kids to be recognized as Ainu and go through the same hardships that they did. Others had concerns about finding a job. A historic reason for this could be the ironically titled Hokkaido Former Aborigines Protection Act. This act has a few commonalities with the General Allotment Act, as it was at least partially inspired by it. It masqueraded under the guise of helping sort out the land by giving each family a plot and taking the leftovers. It was also an attempt to turn the traditionally hunter-gatherers into farmers.
なぜ自分の親しい友人、知人からもいい加減諦めなさいよって。お願いします。お願いします。お願いいたします。これからですね。油断できませんよ。
The act also established the Ainu as former Aborigines, that is to say, formerly Ainu, from that point on, Japanese. They carried this out by forcing Ainu to take on Japanese surnames. Various cultural and religious practices were banned. Special schools for Ainu were set up for the younger generations to learn Japanese language and culture, as well as agriculture. In these schools and elsewhere, the Ainu language was forbidden. Much like we've seen studying the indigenous peoples of America, these issues still pervade today. This can definitely be seen through the disappearance of the Ainu language. The Ainu language traditionally had no written system. Sometimes due to the proximity of Russia it's written in Cyrillic, but usually it's written in Japanese. The Japanese written alphabet for foreign words, it's built for Japanese words, and it's not very convenient for writing those in other languages. This is largely due to most of the characters ending in a vowel. Sometimes this works fine for foreign words. For instance, America is America. However, other times it doesn't work as well, with words like orange becoming orangi. You can see how this would cause issues, especially after having the language banned for so long, and all the records of the language bending the words in such a way to fit the written system. There have been some steps in the right direction. The Japanese government finally recognized the Ainu as an indigenous people in 1997. Groups such as the Ainu Rebels, who mix Ainu language, dance, and music with more modern forms of rock and hip-hop, are inspiring more youth to get involved with preserving the culture as well. However, there are still challenges. The number of Ainu that go on to higher education is still significantly smaller than the Japanese, but some look to the successes of other indigenous peoples overseas for inspiration.
When I saw Canadian indigenous people performing and thought, cool, I want to be like them. These were indigenous people from abroad. But really I wanted to be inspired by my own Ainu people. Now I want to become someone who can influence and inspire younger generation in the same way.
The largest and most well-known of the Ryukyu Islands is Okinawa. After a long history with complicated relationships with both Japan and China, the Ryukyu kingdom was not officially annexed until 1879 and became known as the Okinawan Prefecture. The last king of the Ryukyus died in 1901. The Ryukyuans have had many problems similar to the Ainu. Today they still experience discrimination, especially on the main island. It is harder for them to find work or even a place to live. One of the current main issues are the American bases located on Okinawa. 74% of America's bases in Japan are located in Okinawa, which is less than 1% of Japan's landmass. Many Okinawans view the base's presence, which takes up 1/5 of the island, as discriminatory. They feel it was put there because the land means less to the government. Besides the noise problems and the loss of space, There have also been some serious incidents involving troops that have left Okinawans with a bitter taste. Even more so than that, however, many people are disappointed in the Japanese government for ignoring their protests. Some people say it makes them feel as if they are second-class citizens. All of the issues presented in here are more complicated than time allows me to discuss. If you're interested in any of the issues I've alluded to, such as the incidents between the bases and Okinawans and forced Japanese education of the Ainu, or any of the issues I didn't have time to address, such as the Ainu in Russia or the history of the Ryukyu Islands, I encourage you to find out more.